Hey guys, before I start this video, I just want to be clear that the views expressed in this video are just my opinion based on the documents I have received and nothing else. Way back at the start of August, when all of this was kicking off, I filed an Official Information Act request, or a LGOIMA, with the council to get more information around the decision process that led to this bylaw that is trying to block access to all of the public unformed paper road at Cape Palliser. You've heard what the council has said in public, but the documents I've obtained tell a very different story. From the beginning, the council knew that a paper road is a legal road, where the public has an absolute right to pass along. And in December last year, their own documents show that the purpose of the bylaw was actually framed in a very positive way. The stated goal was to secure the enjoyment of the coastline for walkers and people with push bikes, to protect landowners from vandalism, and most importantly, ensure cultural areas were kept safe and respected. They even acknowledged the importance of the paper road as a second emergency exit for Cape Palliser communities if the main road was ever blocked by slips or storms. That's a vital lifeline in an area known for erosions and landslides. There were even constructive ideas on the table: fencing and marking the road, replanting seafront land, and working with iwi on cultural projects. In other words, the early plan was about protecting the land while still protecting public access and community safety. And here's something else from December. In an internal email, a staffer wrote, "Are you free for a 2-minute chat about why we can't close the paper road? I just want some facts to be able to tell." In other words, even inside the council, they knew that closure was not a legal possibility. But everything changed in early 2025. In January, landowners told the council they wanted all access shut down to allow the land to heal. By March, internal emails admitted it was really evident they didn't want anyone on their whenua, not pedestrians or cyclists. And by April, the draft bylaw had been rewritten to reflect exactly that: a blanket ban on all public access. So what started as a sensible and a legal restriction on four-wheel drives quietly shifted into a full closure of a legal public road, with no clear public explanation. But here's the part that makes this even more outrageous. In the documents I received, the council explicitly acknowledged that this paper road is the main emergency access for Cape Palliser communities. If the main Cape Palliser road is washed out by a storm or blocked by a landslide, which does happen out there, this road is the only backup. Without it, communities at the end of the coast would be cut off completely. The council itself wrote that the only other options would be to beg private landowners for permission, or to declare a state of emergency, which only lasts for 7 days at a time. So on one hand, the council knows this paper road is a critical lifeline, and on the other, they're proposing a bylaw that shuts the public out, even walkers and cyclists, based on the landowners' wishes. And yet, in April, councillors met in a public excluded session behind closed doors and advanced the bylaw anyway. And it goes deeper than just closed doors. In one internal email, staff wrote, "We need to get it over the line with this council since they have approved the bylaw and are very supportive." That's not about good lawmaking, that's not about engaging the public, that's just about rushing something through while the current councillors are still in their seats. And another email went even further. "We just want to sense check the timeframes we would need to work to allow us to get this bylaw across the line prior to elections." Think about that. Not how do we consult fairly, not how do we make sure this is even legal, but how fast can we ram this through before the voters get to have their say? And here's the kicker. The council had an OIA bundle from 2020 sitting in front of them, showing how other councils have handled bylaws on unformed legal roads. And you know what every single example was about? Vehicles, traffic control, stock control. Not a single one banned walkers or cyclists, not one, because that's the line you don't cross: public rights of passage on legal roads. So when the South Wairarapa District Council pushed ahead with a bylaw that bans everyone, even on foot or bicycle, they weren't following precedent, they were just breaking it. And you know what's even more revealing? They were figuring out how to manage the narrative. They decided the bylaw should be sold as an ecological story, with Hapu fronting it, while quietly pushing aside concerns about emergency access, enforceability, or whether the bylaw was even lawful. So let's be clear, the council knew this was unprecedented. They knew it would be hard to enforce. They knew the law recognised public rights, and yet they pressed on. Not because the community demanded it, but because a very small handful of landowners wanted it. It's not very transparent, and it's not very accountable, and it's certainly not good enough for a council. And to add to all of this, here's something else I discovered. In one document, the council redacted part of an email, but then in another release, the exact same section turned up unredacted. And what did it say? Multi-pronged approach, all the stakeholders on the same page, all promoting the same narrative. This is an ecological site, habitat for endangered species, supporting the aspirations of mana whenua, positive outcomes for community. Then GW and council used signage, concrete boulders and bollards. There were negative online comments, but over time they were drowned out by the positive, more inclusive narrative. That's not sensitive legal or commercial information. It's just a spin strategy, and under the Official Information Act, spin is not a valid reason to withhold information. So not only has the council been trying to manage the narrative instead of engaging what I feel is honestly, they've also been inconsistent in what they chose to redact. And to me, this shows they're more worried about controlling the story than being transparent. This process has been flawed from the very beginning, and now with over 3,500 submissions, the public has made it clear. We don't accept it. The councillors have no choice but to halt this whole process and just start again the right way after the elections.